Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back out at Ravenscar, one of my favorite places on the coast because it's full of rare fossils. The downside of that is it's really difficult to get to, and in the middle of summer it's particularly difficult to get to. If you come down through the ferns it's full of ticks, and if you come along the front you have to avoid the seals and the incredibly slippery rocks. And the rocks are all slippery because they're covered in algae, and the algae, being green and brown, covers over all of the rocks that have fossils in them, and it makes it very difficult to find fossils. And as you might have just heard in the background, there are active landslides still going on around us, so we'll be very careful to keep away from the cliffs, but hopefully we'll find some goodies. I know there's been a lot of rare things showing up on my YouTube recently from here, and the hope is we can add some more. So come along and let's see what we can find. Made a deal to myself that I'm not going to pick up too many decks today. They end up being very heavy and a pain in the butt to carry. But this one's just split very nicely. In fact, I don't even think it's a deck. I think it might be a perinoceros. I think where it's broken it might have been a spine, but shell looks great. So I'm going to take that home and we'll see what we can do with that prep wise.
Sadly, that hammering on the beach has caused a crack to develop through the middle of it, which opened when I was prepping it. And sadly, it didn't prep very well because of it. How it goes sometimes.
You can see how green all the rocks are here, just to give you an idea of how slippery things are becoming. And also why it's a bit challenging in some places, but there's still plenty of stuff to be found. You do get some nice little bivalves. Again, not what I'm looking for, but just nice to show off to you guys. Just had a few promising looking nodules, but sadly not a lot in them. This one was the most promising, and hopefully you can just about see some brown bits in there. Those that are remains of a lobster or a shrimp, but it's not even well enough preserved for me to think about taking home and trying to put that together. A shame. Usual safety reminders. Those cliffs, even though it is summer, is dangerous as heck. All of that corner is fresh down from the cliffs above it. You can see where they've fallen out, and there's some big blocks out. And the other reminder, as always, Ravenscar. Triple SI, all of the bedrock down here, all protected. So even if you're angry with it being super slippery, or you see a really nice fossil in it, it is protected. Please do not hammer into it. You do not need to. Plenty of things loose. Also convinced Ravenscar must have a lot of phyllocerases around based on the number of bits I see. Sadly, no good ones yet in my collection from here, or in my collection from anywhere, but we will keep working on that. Picked this up thinking it was a DAC, but upon closer inspection and having a look at some of the ribs and the shape of it, might just be a little catasiloceros. Tough to say with a preserve like this, but we'll take it home and give it a prep.
And it turned out to be a little stunner of a catasiloceros.
I said no decks, and again I keep finding things that I think might be, but again it's sufficiently interesting. It goes around, comes out over here, it's quite big too. It might not even be a deck, but tough to tell with the ribbing, what's preserved and what's on show. I might just leave that in the first bay once I head to the second bay and come pick it up on the way back through, because it's quite a big block, as you can see with my hammer.
And after prep we can see it's got spines on that second to outer whorl on the right hand side there, which makes it probably a porpoceros or a perinoceros.
They often don't look like a lot of these fat perinoceros species. I'm assuming that's what it is rather than a catasiloceros based on the spines and the shape, but they often preserve the middles really well and the spines stay intact, unlike a lot of the other species. So we'll take that one home, even though it doesn't look like a lot, and give that a prep too.
The middle on this is well preserved on both sides, but sadly the spines did not want to stay intact.
And one very battered little hildy. Saw this keel of a hildy. You can tell it's a hildy because it's got that distinct like valley, ridge, valley in the middle of the keel. Gave it a tap because why not? And what a little beauty. It's a lovely little double this, so you can see the edge of the keels on both of them. But this one is a DAC almost certainly. This one is quite big if it is a DAC, so I'm wondering if it might be a catasiloceros with a DAC, which would be a really cool little association. That one's going straight in the bag.
This does have fairly nice spines and ribs, but unfortunately as you get anywhere near them with the pen they all explode, so it's been very slow going and still a work in progress.
It's unusual for me to be coming around so late that I can walk around the front and show you the wreck, which is just in the foreground. But it's also worth again showing those big falls in the background. Some of those are fresh. And I suspect with the increasingly dark clouds, we might be due some more rain. So I'm going to try and do my best to have a quick but thorough look of this second bay down here. and hopefully we can get a few goodies before I have to rapidly scoot back around before the tide, and rain makes it very tricky. In this second bay you get some interesting shelly blocks that often contain things called Grammoceros. It's an ammonite only found in the uppermost lias of Yorkshire, basically only at Ravenscar. And some of the blocks look like this, although this one doesn't look particularly like a Grammoceros. So I'll take this one home and give it a quick prep when I get home. I'm hoping it might be a rare species like a Holgia, but I never know, and I'm often wrong with these IDs, which is why we've got so many incredibly rare things that keep propping up that I'm not super excited about until I get them all prepped. Just because I don't know from these little bits what they are.
Still not 100% sure, but pretty sure this is just a very pyritic pseudo-Lioceros missing its shell.
Sadly, the rain arrived a lot quicker than I thought it was going to, and if you have never been fossil hunting in the rain, I'll give you an example of why it's so difficult to start seeing things. We look for the keels of ammonites sticking out of rocks and usually see that because there's a difference in colour. But when it rains, a lot of your rocks end up with these little patterns of discoloration where there's obviously the wet and the dry bits next to each other, and it makes it very difficult to see those keels that you're used to seeing until everything ends up as all very wet or all very dry again. But we will do our best. And I just popped another cute little hildy. Not necessarily the most beautiful Grammoceros, but it gives you an idea of what we're looking for. So a nice little ammonite with the very shelly matrix. And occasionally you get some other species in here as well, but that's what that one is. In these shelly blocks you get those Grammoceros, you also get the Holgias that are pretty rare. And you get another thing, or another couple of things, like this. So this is a pseudo-Lioceros, and this will be probably the unique species for Ravenscar, the bulbians. And it looks like there was another one here. And so you do get them in multiples. They're not super common, and I'll have one coming up in a before and after in a few weeks' time, I suspect. A little annoyed with myself. I saw this edge, so I gave it a tap, and unfortunately it has exploded really badly. And it's a cat by the looks of it, and yeah, popped all the wrong ways. I might still take it back and see if we can glue it back together, but I think that break is not as clean as I would like. We'll see.
It also wasn't super well preserved with the outer whorl, so it's being cut down to make a smaller one now.
Yeah, one of the things we come around the corner at Ravenscar is to have a look at this sort of sandier stuff. This blue sandstone comes from what I've been calling the blue wyke. I'm told it's the blue wyke, but pronunciation is a thing. This is an ammonite here, and you can see bits of it exposed all the way around. The question is whether or not it has a middle, and I'm told it's very rare that they do, but you can see pieces of keel there. It's here, comes up. There might be another one behind it as well. This block looks not bad as far as they're concerned, but they seldom have a middle. Either way, I will take it back and see, because it's about as good as they get. I was just giving the nodule on the left a tap, and out popped a big chunk of ammonite. Sadly, no middle or anything complete, but it's quite a nice one to show off. This is one of those usual Grammo looking blocks full of shells, and you'd be looking for ammonites in it usually, but I picked it up, and this here, and this bit here, is bone. I don't know if we can get you at about the right level of zoom that you can see that, but someone's clearly hit this block multiple times. You can see the broken edges on it. I don't know if they knew that there was bone in it or what, but sadly I think that piece of bone is too far gone to even be able to tell you what it's from. Hopefully not marine reptile, and hopefully not part of something far more important and rare. But alas, I think it might just stay on the beach. I think that's going to wrap us up here in the second bay. Not the best haul I've ever had from here, but also not the worst. Can't complain too much. It's only been here about an hour, and we're now past the low tide point, so the water's going to start coming back in, making the trek back a lot more treacherous, especially as the next bands of rain look to be coming down fairly shortly, even though it looks sunny at the minute. But I'll be back with you as we go back to the second bay, or the first bay, and start finding some more things that way. Just a few more things on the right. It's a piece of fossil wood. I actually thought it was a piece of modern wood because of how well preserved it is. That'll stay. And then this one, this keel, I think it's a pseudo-Lioceras keel. Looking at it, it's a bit different to the Hildy keels, but I'll try and prep that later.
It was indeed a little pseudo-Lioceras.
Give you all a game of spot the fossil, and in this game it's actually how many fossils can you spot, and I'll try and help point out as many as I can see from here that you should be able to see in frame. I am almost certainly going to miss some though, so bear with me as I try and point them all out. Right, so we'll zoom in. The first ones are in here. There's a bunch of little crinoids, little crinoid stems. We've got a Hildy negative, some bivalves, a partial Dactylioceras, another Dactylioceras. We have a partial Hildoceras right there. There's another Dactylioceras up there. I am sure I will have missed some that others will have seen, but do let me know what I missed, and don't tell me I've missed a giant piece of ichthyosaur bone, because that will make me very sad. Don't normally show off too many bits of wood, but this one I actually might keep. Not because this side's particularly interesting, but this side's quite nice. I don't know if you can see that well on this camera, but it's got the wood grain going around a knot right there, and so it looks just like a modern piece of wood. It's a lovely little size to take home, and I like it. Just working our way back to the get up and down point near where the seals are. Obviously giving them a wide berth, but not wanting to go through the ferns at this time of year. But it's always worth just checking out the bay. You get some nice nodules. Some of them, like these, just full of shelly bits. This one had an ammonite in it. I think it's a pseudo-Lioceras, but you do get Ovitiscerus in the bays, and they're pretty rare along the coast, except for a few exposures. Because the band that they come from is really thin, so it's worth just having a poke and see. You never know. Last time I was here on a video, or a hunt without a video, a young lady did get a nice Ovitiscerus from this bay. So it's worth just keeping your eye out for. You never know what you might find. And yeah, this time of year all the seals go out into that headland there rather than in this bay. This bay, midwinter, you should not be walking through because it's where all the seals are. I think that's going to wrap us up here at Ravenscar. As you can tell, the rain has restarted afresh for the third or fourth time. It's one of those sort of days on the coast. But day at Ravenscar is always good. Lots of different species, a few rare things, and a few we have to just wait and see when they get prepped what they are. Can't complain too much at that. Hopefully now this walk back up the cliff in the rain isn't going to be too bad. But as always, thank you all for watching. Let us know what you thought about the finds and things you're looking forward to seeing fully prepped. And I'll catch you in the next hunt. See ya.